So I'm going to try to keep this short because I know you all want to run home and reflect deeper on this feast day of the presentation of the Lord. And I would suggest doing that like around 3:30 perhaps. Movies have a way of getting under your skin and getting into your soul. There are certain movies, especially dramas, that I have to be in the mood to see, because sometimes they're about real life. Of course, always through the lens of the director, emphasizing this or that. But some movies I just have to be in the mood to see. Some movies I'm scared to see because I know that I'm going to be thinking about it forever. One such movie that is a book that recently came out and is up for Academy Award is 12 Years a Slave. Not 1 year, 12 years. And if you haven't seen it, what it focuses on is a free person in the North, a professional man who has the worst nightmare of his life come true. Nightmares are bad enough, but they're even worse when you're not expecting them. This man is taken out, approached about a business venture by two people. They get him drunk. They put him to bed. Then the next scene you see is very chilling. He wakes up in a dark room and you hear the sound of chains. This man who has earned his freedom is going to be taken back into the atrocity, the tragedy, the horror, the violence of slavery. This director who directed this movie, Steve McQueen, not the other guy, the black one, from Britain, that one. He has a way of holding you in certain scenes. And he holds you until you can't take it anymore. And his old principle is that sometimes life is that way. Sometimes if we don't allow ourselves to go deeper and be held in certain aspects of life, what do? We dismiss them. We don't see them. This movie was horrible because it's true. One depiction. And we can point to all different sort of cultures. Slavery is not a new thing. But for us as Americans living today, it's hard to go back and stay there because we're all mixed up. I always tease Julie to say she has a few drops of the blood. But I have a lot of drops of the blood too, the other way. As Americans, we're all mixed up. And for some people, that might be very upsetting. You ever thought about that? You might be black or Mexican too, or Asian. How about Christian? We all are that. But what does it mean to allow ourselves to be a part of the human family? To be a part of the human family and to be a part of the Christian family means that we have to let ourselves stay in the places that allow us to suffer with others, but also to rise. Faith, friends, is a journey. Spirituality is a journey. Christianity is a journey of ups and downs. And if we haven't learned that yet, we're not paying attention. And while we come Sunday after Sunday, although the music is beautiful and hopefully the preaching is helpful, it's for the Word of God. That's why we come. That's why we're here. But we have to allow ourselves to get over ourselves sometimes and to allow the Word of God to find a home in us, whether it's convenient or not convenient, clear as a bell or confusing. But when it's confusing, we have to have the courage to make the journey, to mature in our spirituality in ways that help us to be freer and to free others. If we don't, we remain slaves and we enslave others. One of the most powerful parts of that movie, 12 Years a Slave, is toward the end, just when I think I couldn't take anymore. There's every scene in the movie, there's a scene like where they're going to church, where you have kind of the church, the white man's church, where he's describing that wonderful passage about servants getting beaten if they don't do enough work. Well, he ascribed to this. So when the slaves didn't do enough work, they would just get a good beating that day. Who does that? Who does that? But yet he couldn't see that there was a freaking double standard there. Is that ever us? Of course it is. We don't mean to be, but sometimes we can be about double standards. We don't mean to, but we are. And that's why we come day after day, Sunday after Sunday, to ask the Lord to free our souls. Not simply in some intellectual way that's so high above us that it never touches us, but to truly ask the question, what ways do I need to be freer, kinder, deeper, and to do them? This year, our theme is Because You Did It For Me. And at the very beginning of the year at Welcome, as I said, it's also about crossing borders. Not being forced to cross borders, but even seeing borders sometimes. Because it's so easy to stay in our own comfortable world, whether it's on a global level or even in our families. It's hard to cross borders when we don't agree. But my question is this: how does the Word continue to become flesh in you and me? How does it? It's not about guilt, friends. It's about awareness. We all need to move sometimes. And our prayer can become more authentic when we ask God for a little help, especially in those harder areas where God calls us to change, to deepen, to stay or to move. Because movement is scary, but it's life. And the good news is that God is with us our whole life. The scene in the movie that I was about to get to is that whenever they would have white church or they would have black church, and this poor guy, he was just trying to survive. And so people would be singing and praising, but he just couldn't bring himself there. But there's finally a scene when he opened the door and let God touch his pain. When he did that, he realized that he wasn't alone. He could be carried. I don't know about you, but there's no better arms to be carried in than God's. If we really believe it, if we really get it. It's not like the rest of the movie got fine after that. There was still some pretty crazy stuff, but he felt carried. And friends, that's what Sunday's all about. These readings are our story, our blunders and our triumphs, and the story of God never leaving us, no matter who we are, what we are, or where we are. And one of the things that I love about celebrating Black History Month is that black people are diverse. If you don't know that, you need to meet more of us. Diverse. One of the great things about African American music, so often that people can say it's about jumping up and down and it's that wild jungle music. Now, yes, Africa has jungles, but it also has some other things too. It has some culture. But there was a pastoral letter by the black bishops in this country that made a distinction between a devotional model of music and a reverential model of music. African American music can be deeply devotional, but it is always reverential, whether it's being sung loud or softly. When it gets into your soul, it's hard not to express yourself or to be annoyed that other people are expressing themselves. The Spirit moves. So what I want to ask you this month is let yourself be open. I'm not saying clap, because some of you have terrible rhythm, but I'm just saying also because you don't need to. You don't need to. But this month, even if the music is a little bit different, allow yourself to hear the words, because the words are powerful. The words are about how do I present myself to the Lord and to one another. Let's not be afraid to go on a journey.